Yeah, but I brought my Oldsmar. I'm calling it coffee cups. I got iced coffee in it.
You know why I moved out of Orlando?
Pardon me?
You know why I moved out of Orlando in 1993?
Why?
Because of Mickey Mouse.
Really?
Mickey got too big for
Turned
you?
Orlando into a cesspool.
Too much
Yeah.
I
traffic,
grew up there, man, and it
Me
just.
too much
too.
traffic. It is. I hate, I don't
I'm sure
travel in my job anymore
the
because
housing prices
I
in
do
that
everything
area
from
are
home.
really.
But I tell you, those times that I had to go over there, or those times I had to go to Daytona Beach.
I can hear this.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Starting the planning board meeting of Wednesday, July 10th. I'm calling it to order. Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. All right, I'll open the open forum. Anyone on the citizens would like to speak for 5 minutes, please raise your hand, join us at the podium. State your name and address.
Jason Sanders, 101 South Bayview Boulevard. I just wanted to speak on the agenda item you have in front of you tonight. I know last time that this came up, there were a few dissents, and I just wanted to, lend my support to the fact of dropping these zones for the alcohol. Go ahead.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, and you will have that opportunity at that time to speak as a
I'd like to pause
proponent,
right there then, if that's okay.
if you like,
Okay.
or you can continue speaking.
Good evening. Goodbye.
Hey, Jason.
I am not a fan of SR 51, which says you can't speak to an agenda item except prior. I think you should be able to speak to it while it's being discussed, because things change from you standing there to council talking about it. Yet, we've never gotten anywhere in years because of the misuse of SR 51.
You might have something else to speak about as well, but I don't tonight, so you got lucky.
All right. I close the open forum, and there will be a swearing-in process at this time. Anyone do we speak in favor or against any item, please swear in now.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
All right, agenda item number 1 is the approval of minutes, June 12th. I seek a motion.
May I ask a question
Yes?
on one of the paragraphs? So under number 2, the third paragraph,
The third paragraph in the minutes?
in the minutes under number 2.
Oh, yes, let's seek a motion to
Okay.
approve, then we'll discuss
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
if you want to pull anything or modify anything.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of June 12th, 2024.
All in favor? Well, no, let's discuss. Let's skip that step then.
Is there a
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Is there a second, Mr. Chair?
Is there a second?
Did we get a second? I asked for a second.
Second?
You did.
All in favor?
No, now discussion.
Well, yeah, you're right, thanks. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry for
It's all right,
jumping ahead.
Lynette.
So on page 5 of 19, so it's number 2, paragraph 3, that starts with Ms. Childress responded to questions.
Yes?
This says discussing the applicant's intent to build an educational facility. I thought there was already a building there, and the use was just going to be changed to an educational facility. I didn't think there was anything being built.
Well, there is a building there, right? Yeah. It's the old Baycare building, I do believe. So do we need clarification from you, Tatiana?
I could clarify certainly.
Please do.
So the code amendment was actually for just adding the use into the TCCR for anybody who wishes to move into that TCCR zoning. So it could be an existing building or it could be a new building. So the use will be permitted by conditional use. So that particular applicant was seeking to move into the existing building, but in general, there will be someone who might buy a piece of land within this district and build in the future an educational facility. So it's for both at this point. But we can update the minutes, definitely revise the minutes to include.
Yeah,
or
I go off
existing
of,
or-
I go off of what is said during the meeting, so I'll go back to the record and recheck it, then report to you back at the next meeting, if that's okay.
And there is more than one district, just not that one. So there, the map we saw, there are little
Right.
spots where this all will happen, so it could be any building.
Right. To me,
And-
this is reading as specific to what Ms. Childress said. And I didn't think she said anything about building, since the building is already there. It's just maybe a remodel, not a build. But I don't always read well.
So are you requesting a modification of this paragraph to more clearly reflect what was actually said? Which would require the assistant city clerk to go back and modify these, and we can review them next meeting. That's easy.
That's
No
easy,
problem.
okay.
I mean, we want it to be right?
Yes.
All right. So please note that Lynette Kirby has requested this. All right, all in favor of the minutes as they have, well, have they been amended? Do we have to vote on the amendment and then vote on the minutes as amended?
Can we bring them back maybe the next time, and so you can review if
We will, what do you call it when you let these rest?
Table it?
Table it. We will table it to the next, we'll table the minutes to the last meeting to the next meeting. Thank you very much. All right, moving right along. Learn as you go. Item number 2, case number CA 2403. This is a public hearing. I like that in blue. Well, I guess, Tatiana, you have the floor.
Tatiana Childress, City of Oldsmar Planning and Redevelopment Director. So this is CA 2403, alcoholic beverages sales. Land Development Code Section 14.6.3, minimum distance requirements, provides for alcoholic beverages for off-premises and on-premises consumption and distance requirements. So the following are the minimum distance requirements between the off-premises and on-premises alcoholic beverage sales establishments and specific land uses. In front of you, you will have an updated staff report where we added the off-premises, on-premises to make sure that both of these items are covered. They're both located under point 14.6, but just to make sure that we address both. So there's a slight modification in that staff report and a slight modification to that amendment to reflect both. And as you can see, the distance shall be measured along a straight line connecting the nearest point of the outside wall of the establishment engaged in the sale of the on-premises alcoholic beverages and off-premises and the property line of such use. So the two tables that you have under 14.6.3 include the off-premises and on-premises, and these two tables, they provide the current ordinance distance requirement. As you can see, for off-premises, the residential is already disregarded because there's no minimum distance requirements. Under the 16.6.3.2, which is on premises, we have currently the provision for the minimum distance exempts residential uses that are part of the mixed use, the MUPD, TCCN, TCCR zoning districts. For other uses, we still have to maintain these district requirements. So we reviewed, city has multiple mixed-use districts, and those include the town center commercial residential, I'll move to this map. The TCCR includes the TCC and town center commercial neighborhood, includes the ROR, residential office retail, and also MUPD. So these districts are designed to encourage a mix of uses, such as restaurants, bars, various commercial and residential spaces, and also residential at higher densities and intensities. The mix of uses attracts residents, workers, visitors, creating an active urban atmosphere essential for a vibrant and economically dynamic environment. And to promote equitable environment that supports the growth of diverse businesses without favoring specific entities, the city initiated a code amendment to reevaluate these distance requirements within existing mixed-use districts. We've also reviewed the neighboring communities, and most of the neighboring communities have reduced buffers for their main district or for their downtown district. Within our ROR, residential office retail, we permit all of the C2 uses. And to just clarify the code application, we're adding ROR into the list of those uses. That's why you see as an underline in the code amendment. So I'll read the text amendment into record. So this is a request for text amendment to section 14.6.3 of the Land Development Code, removing distance requirements of alcoholic beverage sales establishments in the MUPD, TCCN, TCR, and ROR zoning districts. In addition, the request includes amending the alcohol beverage section to reflect current Florida statute references, and for clarity, to include the ROR residential office retail district into the list of permitted districts. The text amendment was reviewed against the 3 conditions outlined in section 3.13.2 of the LDC. The amendment complies with the comprehensive plan and advances the purpose of the Land Development Code. So by allowing greater flexibility for businesses in these mixed-use districts, including TCCR, TCCN, ROR, and MUPD, the amendment supports the plan's vision of creating active and walkable neighborhoods. The amendment will contribute to promote the community welfare. So the amendment will contribute to promoting the community welfare by creating a more active and economically diverse environment. Reducing or exempting district buffers allows for a greater variety of businesses, including those that sell alcoholic beverages, to operate within the mixed-use districts. And the amendment will not grant a special privilege to an individual property owner by uniformly applying the exempted distance requirements across these districts. The amendment will create an equitable environment that supports the growth of diverse businesses within the following specific entities. And based on the above discussion and the review against section 3.13.2, staff recommends that the city council authorize the city attorney to prepare an ordinance to amend section 14.6, alcoholic beverages, of the Land Development Code. This amendment would remove the distance requirements for alcoholic beverage sale establishments for off-premises and on-premises consumption in the MUPD, TCCN, TCCR, and ROR zoning districts in revised subsections 14.6, 14.62, and 14.6.6 to provide updated Florida statute references, as well as to include the ROR district into the list of permitted districts for code clarity. Thank you.
All right, does the board have any questions for staff? Starting with Lynette, you have any questions for Tatiana?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Ross?
No questions.
No, thank you.
Bob?
No.
And Jessica? I do. Are there any, I'm glad you put the map back up. The purple, is that Oldsmar Elementary?
That is correct.
And so the only other school near this is none, right?
Well, Forest Lakes Elementary,
That's kind of close to that ORR, but not very.
that's outside, yes. So currently, we do not have, but as you know from last meeting, we are proposing educational facilities within the TCCR. So it's the dark blue that runs along the Tampa
Right.
Road corridor. So that's where the educational facilities will be permitted. Currently, we have one application for conditional use for the National School of Sciences. They're trying to bring their South Campus into the Baycare, the former Baycare building. So that will be,
Acupuncture and chiropractors.
that's right.
That's what they do. But we're saying TCCN also, right?
So the educational facilities will be only permitted currently under the TCCR. So
But
that's
the-
where,
this is the alcohol.
but the alcohol sale buffers for churches and educational facilities, that they will be
In all these
in all of
highlighted
these,
zones.
yes.
How many daycares are in there? in any of these? Do we know?
So in the ROR, I know for sure we have, so the ROR, if you look, it's that orange one. So along Tampa Road corridors behind Walgreens, if you think the Primrose. So Primrose in the ROR, and that would be off premises in this instance because Walgreens, they're really close to. Then we have the former KinderCare. Well, I think it's still KinderCare, which is kind of like right across, but they are in the C2.
Mm-hmm.
So that would not be applicable to them.
So a
because
minimal
C2 is
amount.
not-
And churches, we have the Methodist church there, but the Moose is exempt, and I don't think.
So the Moose would be the club. So currently,
Right.
they're right next to the residential, and currently, there's no residential buffers in the town center, so that's why they can operate in that
They're 100,
area.
yeah, they're a club and they're
But the
150 feet
church-
from the church anyway, so. But that's the only other one I can think of, right? So we need, the whole idea behind alcoholic beverages in schools is to protect our children from wandering in the bar and grabbing a beer,
That's right.
or watching some person throw up and give them a bad idea about society. So I don't think that we're really gonna have that happen because of what exists here with this change, this tweak, this idea of flexibility. I mean, after all, Safety Harbor survived, right?
Right.
Okay. This directive came to you from Felicia, the city manager?
No, this was initiated by city staff when we had an application for national, and also who initiated this code amendment for the TCCR educational facilities was actually Operation Jack's Village. So they were looking in the building to operate within the TCCR as well. And their building would be close to the Moose Lodge, maybe closer than 350 feet. So then we looked at some other municipalities to see what others are doing, because the residential is already addressed, but what are they doing? Because I know in Safety Harbor in Dunedin, they do have daycares right next to maybe a restaurant that sells alcohol. And then we discovered that they actually have, in most of these districts, they have reduced distance buffers, and we're putting the conditional use, the educational facilities are being introduced as a conditional use. That means that we may require still additional buffers. And while it's a requirement for any establishments that sell alcoholic beverages, so it is not a requirement for school. So school can move in right next to a restaurant, which makes then that restaurant kind of like a non-conforming use, because if they say stop operating and then somebody else wants to move in, they will not be reestablished their license because of this distance requirement. So to protect the businesses across the board in all of these districts, and to address some current code challenges, because we have the ROR district that permits all of the C2 uses, but yet we kind of like don't have it listed in the code. We initiated the comprehensive code amendment for the entire chapter to address all of those difficult situations.
Thank you. I have no further questions. I have something I want to ask you, but that's why I was wondering how you got direction from this, and it's off topic, but I'm going to bring it up later, I think. So no one else has any more questions for staff? There's no applicant, really, so you're the applicant. Any questions for the applicant? I think we've worked that out. I shall open the public hearing. Thank you, Tatiana. Public hearing is now open on this item.
Jason Sanders, 101 South Bayview
Look
Boulevard.
familiar.
Yeah, thank you. I know. I can't surprise you with my stance anymore, so we'll just get right to it. So yeah, I'm a proponent of this, and I wanted to speak on that just to say my concern necessarily would be definitely there'd be some cleaning up throughout the city that would be good with that they could clean up some of these little things, but with the CCR district, especially with the downtown development, like them starting to look at plans again and look at that coming in, I would just be afraid that, even where the potential schools are placed now where they want to come in, that could definitely restrict the businesses that could come into that downtown area. It may keep businesses from coming down in there also, but you definitely would shorten up the space, I think, the landscape that you had for potential businesses to come in there, because with one well-placed school, you'd really have to, watch who you put in there and who's next to it. So that just wanted to speak on that and saying reducing that these districts would really help with all that, probably alleviate any of it, and you probably wouldn't have as much pushback from future developers or anything else that might go into the area. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else from the public wish to speak on this? Seeing none, I guess I'll close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. Have we received any written comments?
No, sir.
None received. Sorry, I closed public hearing before I asked that question. All right, may I seek a motion on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we recommend approval of CA 24-03 to the City Commission.
A second.
This is a,
Roll call.
well, roll call vote, but any discussion? Nope, 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 nope. Nope, I'm just kind of concerned about that school that wants to go in there with those troubled children and what kind of ramifications that may have, but I think whoever moves in the building, it's up to them to take care of that. So, roll call, please.
Board Member Villafana?
Yes.
Board Member Roundhouse?
Yes.
Board Member Kirby?
Yes.
Board Member Giannakos?
Yes.
Vice Chair Harvey?
Yes.
Chair Rain Buer?
Aye, yes,
Motion passes 6-0.
thank you. Moving on to what?
Mr. Chair, just a formality, but do you mind if we go back and actually have a motion and vote to table the minutes to the next meeting?
I seek a motion to table the minutes from Wednesday, June 10th, was it? When was it? When were we here?
June 12th.
June 12th?
I make a motion to table the minutes from June 12th till after the next,
Thank you. For clarification, or modification,
for modification.
And to be
with
reviewed
Ms.
by us.
Jenny,
Okay.
To be reviewed by us at the next board meeting.
any seconds?
Second.
All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None seen, passes. Fine.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-0. Okay, thank you. Next item is number 3, case CA 2404. This is a public hearing, City of Oldsmar Code Amendment Revised Section 517 on fences. Tatiana, you have the floor.
Thank you. So this is a text amendment, CA 2404, drainage easements. The current land development code regulations under section 5.1.7, fences and walls, prohibit the placement of fences within drainage easements to ensure unobstructed water flow and effective drainage. In section 14.1.6 of the LDC, docks and bathhouses includes provisions for docks placement. However, the code is silent regarding the placement of docks within drainage easements. To address both of these conditions, city staff initiated a code amendment to permit fences and docks within drainage easements by special permitting and subject to certain review criteria. A little bit of a background of this. So over the last maybe 4 years, we received a lot of applications for fences, and most of them are from harbor palms, where, as indicated on this plan, you will see a new fence being proposed on the property line, how it usually is presented to us. But then you see in blue here a drainage easement. So by section 5.1.7, the placement of those fences is prohibited in drainage easements. So we always have to say that, well, you have to move that fence outside of the drainage easement. And what we'll end up with is this 10-foot piece of property, private property that you would think, that will be sectioned off by a fence. And you would still have to mow it, but it will be behind your fence because you're in a drainage easement, and drainage easements are not permitted by code. So this is also a staff-initiated code amendment. So we reviewed all of actually the Public Works Director reviewed all of the neighboring districts, municipalities, to see how they address drainage easements and fence placements. And what we found across the board, there was like a consistent special permitting or review with a special criteria by Public Works Director or their designee, and therefore we're trying to make this amendment to be consistent with neighboring municipalities as well. At the same time, we have a situation where we're a coastal community, so we have a lot of docks in our city. And in some places, you will also see a drainage easement, and a portion of that dock will be running through the drainage easement. And currently, it's not being addressed, but sometimes the posts from the dock may be also blocking the flow, so it also should be subject to special review criteria. So we decided to address the following situation as well. So this is a text amendment to section 5.1.7, fences and walls, allowing fences and drainage easements in section 15.3.1 and 15.9.1. Design and construction, allowing fences and docks in drainage easements subject to review criteria. In section 14.1, docks and bathhouses by allowing subsection 14.1.6.2, drainage easements to allow docks and drainage easements subject to review criteria. As with previous code amendment, we review this against section 3.13.2. The amendment complies with the comprehensive plan and advances the purpose of the land development code. The permitting process will ensure that fences or docks are installed in a manner that does not obstruct drainage. Property owners shall adhere to guidelines set by the Public Works Director or their designee, ensuring that any fences or docks installed do not impede the flow of water or causing flooding. The amendment will contribute to promote the community welfare. Allowing fences or docks in drainage easement by special permitting will balance the need for property securing and privacy with maintaining effective drainage system. Special permitting will ensure that fences or docks meet specific standards and are maintained, educating homeowners about the importance of proper drainage, and permitting fences and docks and drainage easements will allow property owners full use of and enjoyment of their properties. The amendment will not grant a special privilege to an individual owner. It will be applied anywhere where people have drainage easements, and it will be uniform to everybody following the special review criteria. Based on the above discussion and review against section 3.13.2, standards for approval, staff recommends that the City Council authorize the City Attorney to prepare an ordinance to amend section 5.1.7 of the Land Development Code to allow fences and drainage easements subject to review criteria, and amend section 15.3.1 and 15.9.1 of the Land Development Code to not allow any structure except for an approved fence or dock in a drainage easement, and amending section 14.1.6, docks and boathouses, by adding subsection 14.1.6, drainage easements to allow docks and drainage easements subject to review criteria. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone on the board have any questions of staff on this item, starting again with Lynette?
No, thank you.
Mr. Ross?
Yes, I actually do have a question. How long is the typical review of an application for a fencing? How long does that take?
So we try to review them fairly quickly, unless there's special circumstances, like if a fence is on the corner lot. Those are within a week, 2 weeks, so they're fairly quick.
So the straightforward ones are that quick?
They're, yes.
Is that like go across the board with like any that have any type of special circumstances within them that they would take a little bit longer?
So this is something new that we're proposing. And the specific review criteria in this instance will be done by Public Works Department. I guess it will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis and what kind of drainage easement. So we have multiple drainage easements in the city of Oldsmar. Unfortunately, the Public Works Director is not here today, but they may request, from what I've seen in the past, maybe a more detailed topographic survey, so topo with spot elevations, showing that they're not impeding the flow, the drainage flow. So there might be additional survey work that will be needed. They will be also educating residents to make sure that If currently maybe residents placed something within the drainage easement, obviously those things will have to be removed if they want to have a fence, and they will have to maintain and maybe restore to the original condition. So if we find like a shed or a patio or like pavers within the drainage easement, so those items will have to be removed. That will be something that we'll review as well. And also the type of the material, we discussed that in some instances, maybe it's not just going to be a wooden post because they may rot or become, so maybe it will be a different type of fencing, but it will be on a case by case, by Public Works Director, by special permitting. By special permitting, I'm just saying that, okay, if it's in the drainage easement, Daniel Simpson or whoever is the Public Work Director, they will just put more work into that permit to make sure that we're still permitting them, because we had a lot of pushback from, well, it's 20 foot of my property that I can't really use, or it's a drainage easement and it's written in the code. But at the same time, the property rights here versus the drainage flow protecting the neighborhood. So it's a difficult decision, but as we reviewed neighboring municipalities, most municipalities do permit fences only in drainage easements.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Brenda?
I have a question. I think you answered it. Those that already have existing poles, fencing, and I think I heard you say they would have to take it out. Is that what you were meaning?
So
Those that are
as
already existing.
that's an existing nonconformity. Unfortunately, we do not have staff to go after everybody to say remove your fences, and will be reviewed by special criteria at this time. But anytime as you, as a resident, would like to submit a new permit, that's when it's being reviewed. So yes, we may have some that were installed back in the 90s. I don't know how long the fence might last, but if they want to replace that fence, and the fence is in the drainage easement, in the past we would say, no, you can't do it, and the residents would be, well, I had that fence for years, and when I purchased the property, sometimes it's not even the current owner who installed that fence, so it might be a prior property owner. And then we're in a difficult situation with permitting, because yet we understand the property rights, and then the section of the code is conflicting, because it says no fences in drainage easements. There's no.
So they would have to fix it.
So they would have to fix it as they submit for a new application, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes. I have some problems with this based on personal experience, as Tatiana knows. The gates on the back of the property, well, I think that was Daniel's idea at my house when we were going through our thing, because he said, I remember we were in the backyard, and he said, you know what, we could put gates on either side here, and that would allow them access to the easement. So I said, okay, I'll incur the additional expense and put a gate on either side, and I did, put a gate on either side. Now, problem with the gates. Both neighbors on either side of me said, well, that just gives anybody and everybody that gets in your yard can get in my yard. On both sides of them, they said, you know. So I said, well, I just put a lock on it. Okay, I'll put a lock. I mean, they're my gates since I'm paying for them. I'll put a lock on them on my side, and nobody will be able to use them. And when the guys come and say they need to go anywhere, you have access. A couple of times, some people have come to my door and said, we have a problem, we have something in the backyard. Spectrum or somebody, because I got a box in my backyard. And they said they need to get back there. And I said, well, you know, I had to put a fence up, and based on what the city told me, I had to put a gate on either side of it to allow you access to that. So I said, you have access. I can't stop you from getting to the easement, and I know that. But I'm not going to give you access through my yard, because I put gates in back there to give you access on either end. And of course, they looked at me like, are you crazy? And you know, I understand where you're coming from. It sounds crazy for me to say that's the only way you can get there, because you're not coming through my property. Well, I didn't, I let them through anyway. I was just making a point, you know.
So the idea of putting fences in there so that everybody eventually will have the fence in the backyard, because the easement is continuous, so your neighbors also have the easement. And once that last property owner that has the frontage on the right of way has that fence with the gate, then they can go through the gate, through all of the gates, and it's an easement. So that
And
was
I
the
underst-
idea. And sometimes maybe it's even like a mowing issue or something
Yeah.
major where they have to regrade, or there's flooding in that area or something really where, if you see the staff report is more detailed, so that fence is actually subject to removal if the city needs to get there for drainage and for safety and for flooding. So it's one of the special criteria that when you mentioned what would take, so gates is what they currently ask
lot
for
of
utility
gates.
easements, but also for drainage easements. That will be required as a continuous application of the code.
So for me, the homeowner, it's a double-edged sword. I don't want access to the backyard to my yard, and neither do my neighbors. So I'm gonna put a lock on it. Problem solved.
Which
However-
may be removed by the city staff.
That's my next point.
Right,
The
right.
right of the utility to remove without cost or obligation is to my cost. So if if I'm on vacation and they come in on Tuesday and say, we need to get back there to that thing, let's just rip this gate out. I can't do anything about it. And why? Why did they rip it out? Because it's locked. Why was it locked? For security. Why do you have a fence in your yard at all? Security. You know, this is, you know, things they get very complicated when you start trying to change, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's put me in a very precarious position, because now I've got this expensive fence and it's locked, and so if they come and want to get in there, they just rip the thing out and go in and do what they need to do, and I have no recourse whatsoever. That is not a fair system, in my opinion, at all. Second, the other thing, the house behind me on 414 Maplewood just got a new fence. I believe it looks like they're getting that house ready to sell, because they have wiped it inside and out and done everything to it. But they just put up a PVC fence. Two things. Number one, they hooked it into my fence without asking me or saying a word to me. Number two, there's no gate back there on either end.
We
And
haven't
I know
passed-
this
we
was
haven't
not-
passed this yet.
You're jumping ahead of me. I know that's not in June. But I got a permit, and in order for them to approve my fence, I had to put a gate up. Why didn't they? You know, why didn't they do it? Now, I haven't said anything about this to anybody, because I'm just sitting back watching. But I just have a real problem. Another problem that I have with this is, where is it?
So, Mr. Harvey, current section of the code prohibits fences and drainage easements altogether. So we feel like this is a good alternative to completely not allowing fences within that 20-foot or 10-foot by installing maybe on some properties gates. On others, the gates may not be required because the drainage easement is different on each property. Some may have pipe and inlets in the back, so that's like an active, actually storm inlet that is there.
Which I have.
On the others, it may be just a swale. So each one will be reviewed by special criteria, and we have the code enforcement. If you feel like somebody's doing work without permit, we have the system, you can notify Greg. That's also an option, so.
Well, no offense meant, but I noticed that code enforcement doesn't always enforce the code, but that's another story. Another thing that I have a problem with, and I can't find it right now, but it says that you can do things subject to, what's the wording? Subject to approval, subject to, I'm sorry, I thought I had it marked.
We're gonna be in bed by 8, though. Pardon me? We're gonna be in bed by 8. Get up at 4, what?
Well,
Well, I'll say I don't have, I have a storm grate in my backyard
I do too, yeah.
on Tangerine. And I actually, a company that I hired to remove.
This is a
a tree-
specific question for,
No, but,
we'll hold it for discussion then,
yeah,
please?
yes, sir.
Thank you. Are you,
Um,
get up,
anyway-
you're gonna run with it, Bob?
I can't find it where, oh, here it is. Subject to review criteria. That's kind of an open-ended statement. Review criteria.
What is the criteria?
What is the review criteria? What is it?
As we mentioned, so there will be a survey that is required, which is always required, and then it will subject to Public Works Director to make future determination whether or not they need the topographic survey of the area, whether or not they need to investigate what's in that drainage easement. So that will be more of an engineering review criteria that is not outlined in here. So it will be similar to right-of-way permits. So each one is different. So each one requires something specific, but most of the time it's a more detailed survey. So with spot elevations, as I mentioned.
Another problem that I had, and I mean, this kind of fixes a lot of problems that I had, but we put a pool in many years ago, and we got a 2.5-foot variance to put our pool in the 10-foot easement. So our back edge of my pool is 7.5 feet from the back line. Well, as soon as I started to come to put a fence, I wanted to put a fence in, they said, well, you have to put a fence in 10 feet up. Excuse me, I'm gonna have to cut off 2.5 feet of my pool in order to put a fence up there? You know, I mean, it was really kind of, the whole thing was kind of ridiculous, we'll say. Well, they didn't do that, and I don't get me wrong, Tatiana. I mean, I think that I'm all for most of this, but not all of it. Not all of it. And I think you guys have done a good thing here based on my experience. I think this is a good thing to be done, to be considered. I think you've shown that you do have the residents' goodwill, or what am I trying to say? The residents, you'd have us in mind to keep us happy, and, you know, like I said, there's just two things in here that I don't like. One of them is subject to review criteria. I would like to know, I understand the survey, and I'm also, and also the business about they can come in and wreck my gate because it's locked, and those two things, I really have a problem with both of them, because I did everything right, up front and honest. A lot of people I know who put fences up without permits and all that, and I did it all up front and honest, and it really, I mean, it took, how long did it take me to get from first application to actually getting the fence put up? It took something like 9 months because of all of this.
Is that all?
problem. Yeah.
You should try to have an ordinance changed by council. All right.
But anyway, so that's my 2 cents worth. I would like to see some change in the wording of the, review criteria, and I'm just totally opposed to the fact that they can rip my fence out and not have to pay me for it. That really bothers me.
I can add bullet points for the council consideration with the specifics, like maybe a topographic survey. So that special review criteria, I'll elaborate like what those items could be. So yes,
Rather than a general term, more specific.
right.
Because I have the drainage grate on one side of my property, and then on the other side, I've got the box, the cable box. So, you know, I mean, as I said, I have a double-edged sword, and I'm just concerned about what can happen to the residents based on what this says.
Thank you,
That's
Bob.
enough.
Jessica, do you have any direct questions for Tatiana?
No, I don't. It's pretty much you lay it out.
I have
Thank
one
you.
and it's the gate thing. If you have a drainage easement that's 10 houses long, right? That's 20 gates plus? How on earth would, if the cable box or whatever is in house number 9, he's gotta go through gate. And if people do have a security issue, because that's what gates are about, how are they possibly gonna access 9 yards, 9 gates? And catch everybody at home, right, to get their gates
So
unlocked?
typically, these would not be for your utility boxes, so it's specifically drainage easements that run in the back. Utility easements are mostly in the front. For your drainage easements, say we have an emergency and we have flooding that is, there's no time to knock on Mr.
pretty
Harvey's door
uncommon.
and then just to go there to, it's like a life safety emergency. I think that's what we mean by going there and removing those. It's not necessarily for those utility companies that are gonna go and rip those fences and locks and everything.
Need that box
so-
moved out front.
Well, and one more thing, and that, with the grates, let's see, I think you have a grate, don't you? No, you don't?
No question.
You, okay, you're 2 houses down from me. You have a grate. You have a grate. So, and there's 1, 2, okay. So what happens is you've got a grate here on this house, and then you've got a house, then you've got another grate, and you may have 2 houses in between. But with the drainage, the swell goes to those grates.
It will be subject to the special review criteria, which may include interior pipe investigation, so they may have to go there with the cameras to see what's in that pipe, because
Yeah.
they have equipment, special review criteria again. It might be something that can actually dig out to see if the pipe is collapsed and they can't go with the cameras there.
Yeah.
Or it might be something that's simply removing that grate inlet and seeing maybe there's a piece of
Yeah.
log stuck in that pipe and now the grass is blocking everything and it just needs to be cleaned up or something.
Last time
So
it was blocked, it was a 2x4.
it's a special review criteria, which will be on the case-by-case scenario. We can add all of those items, hypothetical ones, in the report. It might be a storm that will, cause severe flooding, so it's,
Tatiana, there's nothing in here about the residents' right to lock their gates. Should that be addressed in any manner? I mean,
That's a
if you
good
lock your
question.
gate, your number 2 says they need to get in there, your fence is gone at your cost. So now you need gate insurance, which is not, that's the thing.
I don't have the answer to that question. We just
Spitball.
generally cover, if they can't get there, they will make sure that they
Bulldoze
can.
through.
Right.
Well,
so-
there's a 10-foot utility easement behind my property, but I've got fence all the way up to the next fence. So I know they'd bulldoze through there if they had to get in there, and I'm aware of that, so always have been. You had another question for staff?
I think we all, excuse me, these guys kind of hit on it, but just like some more detailed things. And I don't know what kind of locks people have on your fences, but is it possible if they are like padlock type things that they could carry bolt cutters?
Well, there's such a thing as a ring lock too that utilities carry, but not all utilities use the same ring lock tool.
Right.
The power company uses a ring lock that,
Right.
and typically you'll see a chain with 4 locks on it, one for the cable, one for the power, one for, but that's not gonna happen in backyards.
No.
so.
Not in the backyard like that, no.
All right, so since the applicant and the staff are the same, I guess we don't have any questions of the applicant. I will now open a public hearing. Public hearing is now open on this item. Anyone wish to speak? Seeing no one from the public, any written information from this? Thank you very much. I will now close the public hearing. So, I seek a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we recommend to City Council that they approve 04 with some, I don't know how to word this. Yes, CA 2404. Yeah, 2404. I don't know how to word this, but I would like to see some
Clarification.
change, modification in the way that the things that I could express concern about the, ripping my fence down.
Gates and specifics. on reviews.
Pardon me?
Specifics on
Yeah,
reviews.
yeah, would like to know what the specific, what they call them,
Review
anyway.
criteria.
Like to know what they were. Yeah. Both of those things. Anyway, that's my motion.
Do you have that? Do you have the way he worded it?
I know, I
Have
ramble a
the
lot.
specifics, but the gates, maybe you can clarify the gates part.
Okay.
for the
What
record.
I would like to make a motion that we recommend city council approval of CA 2404 with why can't I find anything when I have it in front of me? With some specifics on what the criteria would be for approval. And I don't know how to word it. Consideration of privacy on the rear gates.
Versus access?
W-
Privacy versus access?
Well, no, it's not, I don't mind, you put the gates up there for them to have access, and giving them access is not the problem, but if they come and you're not there and they're gonna rip it down, and that's just, how do I word that? I don't know how to word it. And I don't know if anybody anybody can help me, feel free to do so, because everybody, I think we all know what I'm trying to say, but
What about this, though? Notification of the homeowner for the need to access the easement?
and I agree with you. And sometimes they do. Sometimes they'll let you know ahead of time.
Right.
But
But maybe that
But-
kind of stipulation, like in
But
that wording?
if the internet went out on a Spectrum and it's out in my box, they're not gonna give me a notice, they're gonna show up.
Agreed
Because that's
on
what they
that,
do.
right.
We really need council to consider the gate access security. Security versus access to that easement through your locked gates. And how to approach that, I think a note from the planning department that we approve this as sent, but we have concerns about gates being destroyed.
Thank you, that's good, yeah.
So I think if we request you, Tatiana, to present that in some note, somehow, that we're okay with all of this, but we're uncomfortable with having a bulldozed gate, kind of, so to speak. So I don't think you can put that in a motion, but you can put it in a caveat, can't you? Or an
Again,
addendum.
the gates are proposed so that they don't remove the section of the fence. That's why we started proposing gates in that area.
We get that.
Right.
But people are locking their gates.
And if the
So
gate
it's
is,
almost like having a piece of fence there that you're gonna have to bulldoze if you need access. That's the problem, security.
just, as I said, bolt cutters, they can't, if they can't get in, they could, use bolt cutters and cut the lock off and open the gate and go in. I have no problem with that, I'll replace that lock, that's okay.
I believe that's what probably will happen, so I don't think they will actually remove the entire fence, but I'm only assuming at this point.
Yeah,
Because
I'm just going by what it says
It's
here.
the way you can play this
They-
well.
They can remove without cost or obligation, so.
You gotta get a cheaper gate. Okay. So we have a motion to send this forward. Want to repeat it so we're clear?
Make a motion that we recommend city council approval of CA 2404 with definition as to review criteria what the review criteria are, and, how did you say it?
Consideration of the gate policy. I don't,
Yeah, the removal of the gate policy, okay? Yeah.
all right, and we'll have to work with that then. A second,
I'm
please?
sorry,
I'll
I'm
second
sorry.
it.
All right. Any discussion? Lynette, any discussion from amongst us about this? We've kind of beat it up, but,
I do not have any, thank you.
hey, Ross?
Further.
No?
Nope.
I'm through.
None? And I really don't have anything either. So, roll call, please.
Okay, Board Member Filifana,
Yes.
Board Member Roundhouse,
Yes.
Board Member Kirby,
Yes.
Board Member Giannakos,
Yes.
Vice Chair Harvey,
Yes,
and Chair Reinbuer.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you very much. Last week, we kind of got, it was like all these, everybody was, all our new people were here. I flubbed an item or two. I didn't know anyone's name in my head. I got a really nice seating chart, so I can address each individual by name, and which was kind of embarrassing for me last week. But,
Mr. Chairman, I have one more thing.
and I'm open the board to any comments, any personal comments that you may have. Do you have any personal comments as a planning board member that you'd like to discuss with the board while we're sitting here?
I do not. Thank you for asking.
I do not.
Brenda?
Sorry I let you down last month.
Well, I'm trying to get y'all forgiven, excused absences, but the way we meet, you could go 6 months without a meeting. I mean, you should be graced in no matter what. Yes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just want to give a really good public shout out to Jenny, and I won't try to say your last name. I've heard it a dozen times, but I still can't say it. She walked me through the computerized financial disclosure situation, and I would not have been able to do it without her help. So I just wanted to thank her for
You're
it.
welcome.
She's great.
Yeah.
But, they canceled that whole thing, didn't they? The financial thing, they changed the rules, we don't do it anymore. Do you have any comments? I have one, Tatiana. Years ago, Bruce Haddock said, "We will have no marijuana in Oldsmar. No dispensaries, nope, nope, nope," and city council went, okay, okay, okay. If Amendment 3 passes in November, we're behind the 8 ball on the possibility in these districts that we've just allowed alcohol to flow. We need, and that's why I asked you how you got the direction, and you said staff discussed it. Well, how can we possibly revisit Bruce's ordinance of no dispensaries in Oldsmar and point it to the same districts that we've just discussed for alcohol use and get in on those tax dollars that if 3 passes, we're gonna lose money, tax dollars, whatever, somebody's gotta be making money off this hooch, the medical, and now if it becomes legal, Colorado is rolling in public funds. So I think that it would be in our best interest as a community. Obviously, it's gotten, if it gets passed, Florida's accepted it, and half the states have too. So I don't know how to present that or get that on an agenda or have them revisit it, or maybe Felicia says no, Bruce said no, I say no.
So it could be a discussion item for council, so anytime like they have the open discussion forum for citizens, anybody could come up to them and also suggest something. So it could be directed from council to city manager and then to city staff to reevaluate certain chapters.
I'd have to go
So it's
to the
usually
forum.
it's usually reactive. So with the case with the alcoholic beverages, so we knew that we were permitting educational facilities, and we also saw that the churches were already permitted in our mixed-use district. So we noticed that there is a slight, now we have to file with each case, we have to file the business impact statement. So if a code amendment is initiated by city staff, we have to, together with that ordinance, we have to put, so you'll see that business impact statement with the ordinance. So not a consideration for planning board, but for the actual ordinance when it goes for the hearing. So we have to follow several items and discuss how this may affect businesses in Oldsmar. So with the text amendment for TCCR, we saw that if the school moves in, they may make other restaurants not being able to move into that district. And we want restaurants, we want other establishments, not just some other office, not some other uses. So it's a mixed use district. So that's why it was a staff initiated effort. In addition to, for years, we've been trying to determine how this is a mixed use district, but yet we have to follow this buffer while for residential it's addressed for there's been application of the code, difficulty of the application. So as I said, we cleared that up. So that was truly triggered by the application of the applicant who submitted for educational facilities. But as of today, anybody could suggest a code amendment to the land development code with the underline, and we'll evaluate. It takes time, but it usually goes through, if it's in interest of the city, so it could be again brought up in front of the council for council discussion. That's how it will be.
I think we should get the chamber to bring it up. You know, it's good money. Yes, you'd like to address something I've said?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. I know it's not public, but if you allow me to speak, and you
Go
can
ahead.
call on me to do it. So the intent would be the loss of, perhaps tax revenue. You said a windfall. You might want to look into first business tax receipts are the only, and right now I'm putting on my chamber hat, just so you know. So I'm on the board of the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce. So Jason Sanders, I should say that. And we're all about having any businesses that want to move in here and everything else and making a good, diverse city for those things. But if it's a tax-based question, I think that's where you really have to start, which is find out where that revenue would come from. I don't think it's going to be quite the windfall you think, because
I
I
have
think.
no clue.
Understood, yeah.
Yeah.
And because I think really the city would only, get the business tax receipt, for income from that. And that being the case, maybe it isn't. It's really a matter of if you'd want it in the area or not. With Hillsborough County so close, if it's a matter of you having access, I'm sure it's going to be right on the other side of the border.
It is already.
correct,
And it's all
yeah.
around us, but, you
Right.
know,
But as far as what it might do for the city or what kind of windfall it would be, what it would generate monetarily, we'd have to look into that a little bit further, or the chamber could as well. If you'd like us to, we can look into that as well and see what it would, what the businesses do generate for that in here. So
be more money for our schools.
absolutely, if there is money, if there's a taxation on that or something, again, that we don't know about because it isn't in that to that point yet, that's absolutely something we would look into, and you'd have to consider that
Yes,
at that point.
Since Amendment 3 is just noise right now,
Mm-hmm.
who knows how it's going to impact the state of Florida in the long run.
I'm happy to look at it and see how it affects.
November election,
Yeah.
that's on the.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah,
I know we're having
but-
August election.
But we have a historical value on it because we know how we can look and see how it's affected other cities, states, and municipalities. So, we can look at that and see how other people are handling it or the potential here and let you know.
And I just sent an email to Felicia, I wouldn't go to before council because I'm already, might have to go before council, but I was told I'm off the hook. My term's up next month.
Oh,
So either I make room for somebody else, or I have.
Usually what happens, when you get it, you're stuck with it for a while. I know, I'm speaking from experience.
So, and I said, well, you know what? I'm okay. So, Cindy's gonna submit my name for reappointment. And since they already know who I am, I don't have to go to the meeting. So, and I said, why do you want to meet me? You know who I am. All right.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, I remembered a question from last month. And I can't remember if it was about the church and the school moving into the district, or if it was about the distance for the alcohol sales. But we were supposed to get clarification on the loitering code and the measurement for that. So I don't know if that,
That was a request from the Mr., who was it, Joseph, that didn't show?
I totally forgot to mention that, but yes, we clarified with the city attorney in chapter 39, which is the school safety zone. is not in conflict with the text amendment that we're proposing on the alcohol buffers, but thank you, yes.
I'd forgotten that too. All right, move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Any seconds?
Second.
All in favor? Good night.
Can't leave. You can't leave.